Hello and welcome back to TerraFlow. Awaken with TerraFlow. My name is Shay.
And I'm Shannon. Thanks for stopping by. On our channel, we are a mother daughter team, and we are basically going through a spiritual awakening together. And we started this channel to be able to reach out to others who were feeling the same way. So we talk about law of attraction, we talk about the law of vibration, we talk about manifesting, we talk about all of the many different pathways a person can find themselves on in this spiritual awakening um, journey. So, whether it be witchcraft or tarot, whether it be different manifestation techniques, um, we like to just explore the different ways to raise our vibration up and to live our best and highest timelines.
Yeah, absolutely. And today we're going to be talking about one of my most favorite and probably most used spiritual tools, which is gratitude. Perfect timing for this as we just passed Thanksgiving. We're going into other holiday seasons, and this is often a time that people do feel very grateful. So we're just going to talk today about gratitude. And before we begin, I would love for us to just take a second. I invite all of us just to take a deep breath in and out and just name one thing that you're grateful for.
Well, I'll say I'm really grateful for my family. And I know a lot of us just spend a bunch of time with our family at Thanksgiving, and maybe there's some of us who weren't able to do so or didn't have that. So I just got to be grateful for having people around me that love me and care about me. And just that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just so grateful for this platform that we share together where we're able to share our experiences, our thoughts, our perceptions with the world in order to make a difference and an impact and raise the vibration of the collective. So I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely. So when I think about gratitude, I feel like it's almost one of those things that gets like sort of spouted out without a lot of thought. Almost like when you're just like, "Hey, I love you. Have a great day," or whatever, and it's like you're not really putting a lot of thought into it. Like, "Oh, I'm grateful for that. Thank you for that," or whatever. But when we think about really getting ourselves into the true vibration of gratitude, I think it has to go deeper than that. I think it includes a true appreciation and a willingness to actually see what it is that you're saying you're grateful for in a way that's bigger than just being glad that you have something.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Where it's almost like to truly, truly be grateful, you feel it deep down inside. You feel it in your soul. You feel it in your heart. And it is expansive when you allow yourself to feel that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, something that completely changed my life was reading The Magic by, oh, what is the author of The Secret? Do you know?
Yeah,
I'm
we're
gonna
gonna
link,
have to,
yeah, I'm gonna
yeah.
link it up, but I read The Magic during my 300-hour yoga teacher training, and it was so profound. And it is such a simple practice, right? And it seems like it's overrated. Seems like, but it is the perfect tool to go hand in hand with manifestation. Because in order to get something into your field, you have to be grateful for already having it, right? And so
Yeah.
gratitude is such a powerful tool for just uplifting your own vibration in general. I mean, one thing that I do when I'm somewhere that feels dense is just start naming off the things that I'm grateful for. If I'm feeling frisky, I'll invite the other people around me to name something that they're grateful for, and it literally does lift the vibration. It's just that positive energy. And when we think about everything as energy, when you think about what you're grateful for in moments where you do feel dense or you do feel low vibration, that's when you can notice the huge impact. And that's where it's like gratitude is good for your health. Gratitude is good for your concentration. Gratitude is good for fill in the blank. It's a reframing of the mind as well. I mean, that's really the magic is it that book it taught me to reframe experiences and think those experiences that felt dense or felt hard, um, and thank them for the lesson instead.
Yeah, because it seems like it's super easy to be grateful for the things we like,
Yeah, exactly.
and the things that we've been trying to manifest and the things that we're striving for. It's super easy to like that stuff. Is it so easy to be grateful for the things that challenge us? And I think that's really why we want to delve into this topic of gratitude, because it's so easy to be grateful for the things we like. Um, Therefore, in contrast, it's much more difficult to be grateful and to recognize those challenges and barriers and the tests that the universe sends us. It's harder to be grateful for those things. So let's talk a little bit about how do we get to that, because um, in order to really get to we talk about you manifest what you are, not what you want. And if you're chasing after something, it's going to run. If you're noticing that you don't have something over and over and you're praying and you're begging and you're saying, "Oh, I wish I had this. I wish I had this." And you're just expressing an attitude of lack and your vibration is just all you're doing is noticing something that you don't have. When it shows up or something shows up, you know, it's easy, like I was saying, to be sort of grateful for that because then you're like, "Yes, I got it." But can we recognize that the challenges and stuff that we actually bring into our life or that happen around us are also for us too?
Yeah.
And how do we get to that sense of gratitude for that stuff? And that's really the challenge. Yeah.
I think it's just a practice. It's just once you have the awareness, that higher awareness, it's just then observing and noticing your own thoughts and changing those patterns into something new, which is not easy, especially if you've been thinking one way. You have like those grooves in your brain that are so deep. I've been doing this one thing my whole life, and now I'm trying to rewire, right? But this whole journey on of the spiritual awakening is just practice in itself. And so I think that's the first step really is just listening to this podcast perhaps, and then now you will notice moments that feel tough where you're not being grateful, and then you have the opportunity to change your own mind.
How do you be grateful in the tough moment though? What if you're in some grief, for example? How do you get to the gratitude in that moment? Because the human experience is tough. It
Yeah.
can be really hard. It can be sad,
Yeah.
like we all experience heartbreak and rejection and all of that. So that's the moments that we probably need the gratitude the most, that we have the hardest time really finding it. So I think you're right. I think you're hit on something when you say it's a practice. If we can make a practice of being grateful, and that could be just doing a gratitude journal or scripting out you know, just some words to the universe about what it is, just writing it out. This is what I'm grateful for. Um, that that practice of doing that on a regular basis will make it that much easier to pull ourselves up out of that dark hole when we get down in the dumps, when we get down on ourselves, when the energy is low. Um, but sometimes it takes more than just a practice. So how to really dig down deep and find that gratitude, I think sometimes just comes with a little bit of wisdom and patience.
Mm.
And I think sometimes we just have to know that the density and the lower vibrations and those harder emotions are just part of the human experience that's trying to teach us something. It's trying to teach us something. So if we can at least get to where we can see the lesson and learn the lesson, even if we can't be grateful about it right now, maybe eventually we can get grateful for it. If at least we can recognize and be aware of the lesson while we're in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally, totally agree with that. I think about times in my own life where a situation has happened, and then for a few months, few weeks, sometimes I'm sure for people years. It's like any time that situation is triggered in my mind, I'm going down a rabbit hole of like, oh, woulda, shoulda, coulda, had to, what if this, what if that. And that's where it can be difficult to find the gratitude in that situation. And I do think that what you said, it's like, though time is just an illusion itself, some separation between the situation and just allowing yourself to process those emotions, like really give yourself the time to process the emotions. The gratitude doesn't have to come like that. It's not like your partner just broke up with you and we're asking you to now sit down and write down all the things you're grateful for and from the relationship. Though, I mean, get that, you could give that a shot if you're up for it. But I think that it's important in these human bodies to just let things kind of dissolve and kind of release, right? And then the gratitude will come. The gratitude will come.
Yeah. I do think that there's like a process of sort of inner healing that has to happen a little bit too. And when we talk about doing cognitive reframing, that's really what we're saying. Cognitive reframing is going back into your past and changing your perception and changing the story that you've told yourself about what happened. We all have these stories that we tell ourselves about our life and who are we. And if I were to say to someone, tell me about your life, basically what they say is a construction, right? It's a constructed past, the things that I remember, the things that are highlighted, the things I pick out. And really often, the things that damage us, the trauma, is really part of shaping that story. So when our trauma and our wounds, we've talked about this before, when you kind of carry it around and you make it part of your identity, and it becomes such part of your story that it is you, and you can't really separate yourself from your trauma. This is a problem. This ends up becoming a barrier that you set up and create for yourself, and you make it harder for yourself to get into the gratitude, to get into the like forward momentum of life when I hold on to that trauma. So, what I want to do is to be able to go back into the moments of trauma and reframe it. Think about it different. Now, I want to be clear about something, however, when we're talking about really traumatic things, if you've experienced some deep trauma, I mean, I work in the field of working with people with sexual trauma. This is something you probably need to work on with some therapy. There's a lot of different ways to go handle the deep traumas, the serious traumas that we have. So please go get help. Please, I highly encourage you to use professionals for that. I'm I'm more talking about the small moments that actually make up who we are,
Mhm.
that can be so tiny and so seemingly insignificant, but yet also completely shape us. And it could be something as crazy as something your second grade teacher said to you one time. It could be something like, um, maybe you had a hard time picking up, reading at that time, and you got put into a reading group that was labeled the slower group or something like that, and you were told or given the message in some way that you weren't smart enough or that you weren't smart in some way. Of course, having nothing to do with your actual intelligence, but you received that message in that moment. And so you've now made that a part of your identity, and you've told yourself that story your entire life, that you don't read well and you can't read well and that you struggled to learn to read. And maybe that's actually not even the case. So when people talk about going back into the past and changing the past, you'll hear people talk about this with like law of attraction, and I know Neville Goddard talks about this a lot, about going back and changing your past. What he's talking about isn't going back and changing what happened. You can imagine a different reality for sure. You can imagine it happened differently. But really what you want to do is go back into that and imagine a different feeling. Imagine you felt different about it. Imagine, instead of with your child's mind, because that's what we do, especially when we're children, we don't know, we take everything at face value. So if our teacher, says or gives us a message and tells us that we're not smart enough, we believe her.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to take that as face value. So if we can take our adult mind and go back into that moment and remind our child self that our teacher was actually looking out for us, and it's because she actually thought we were special and thought that this kid actually could use some extra reading help because they're such a good reader. And what if we changed the story to that? And we told ourselves, when we sat in our child self, when we thought about that whole scene and how actually great it would feel to know that this teacher, this caring teacher, was concerned enough about us and making sure that we learned, that they put us in a special group to make sure that we got everything that we needed. And it wasn't because we weren't smart enough, it was because we were smart.
Mm.
Um, and I can now, maybe if I can go into that scene, and there's different techniques to go do this. Deep in meditation is a good way where you just visualize the scene and you put yourself back into it. So there your little kid self is hearing the teacher put you in the group, and instead of the feeling that you felt of shame or humiliation or whatever worthlessness, you replace it.
Yeah.
You replace it with gratitude and happiness and thank you, teacher. And you just think about, what would your life be like if that's what the message you got was, and you went about your life thinking, wow, I'm a great reader, I
Yeah.
can read really well and I'm smart, instead of basically the opposite. And I think that there's so many occasions that we get programmed by the people around us, whether it was intended or not,
Mhm.
to feel lesser about ourselves in some way.
Yeah.
And we create barriers for ourselves with these experiences. We just create limiting beliefs. We tell ourselves we're not good enough, we're not worthy based on these experiences, big and small. So, cognitive reframing requires a couple things. It requires you to first think through your life and
Yeah.
really figure out what it is that's causing that. Are you somebody, for example, who has a hard time saving money? Ask yourself why. What's going on with that? Is it more than just an example that you saw? Or is it some message that you got somewhere along the way that money was hard to hang on to, that it's hard to save money? And ask yourself, why do you think that? And if that's the case, and you figure out why you think it's hard to save money, go back, switch that up, and make that experience teach you that it's really easy to save money.
Mm.
And I know that sounds a little bit weird to say all that, to just sort of be like, I'm going to think of it differently. But we construct our lives with our beliefs every single moment. Every moment we can decide to perceive something in a way that lifts us up or pushes us down. Every moment we construct it. So why can't we go back into our memories and construct our lives into a better, more positive way? Why can't we see the things that people say and do to us are actually for us? And anything that someone does sort of against us, it's about them.
Yeah.
It's not because we're less than, it's not because we're not worthy, it's not because we don't deserve things. Um, it's not because we're not special. It's just the circumstance that happens. So cognitive reframing can be magical when we go through it and we really allow it to transform us. Does any of that make sense? What do you think about all that, Shay?
Yeah, totally. I think a couple points that everything that you said totally resonates with me so deeply. But I think that something that kept coming up is this idea of there's layers to this, right? It's not like, you can start a daily gratitude practice, and I encourage everybody to do that. But it is like going back and reframing your whole life potentially, right? Some people don't need that, other people do. And so it's really about being gentle with yourself during this time, especially, I think about if somebody would have told me this during the beginning of my spiritual awakening, I would have been completely overwhelmed because I
Yeah.
don't know how to meditate yet. I don't quite have the tools to do. I don't have a guide, I don't have a teacher. And now you're telling me I need to go back through my entire life and reframe it? Like, how do I even structure that? Do I need to pick chunks of time each day to go back and reframe? And I think what I would tell myself after having those thoughts is to take it slow and just allow your mind quiet a bit, and you'll what comes up is what is supposed to be um reframed in that moment. You know, you don't have to try so hard. You know, emotions can become trapped in your body. Just feel into your own human body and see what wants to come up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, journaling can definitely help you figure out what are the things that are blocking you?
Mhm.
What are your limiting beliefs? And even talking about what are limiting beliefs, we should probably say even what I mean by that. What do I mean by a limiting belief? A limiting belief is something that stops you. It's anytime you tell yourself you can't do that, I can't have that, I can't,
Yeah.
right? Um, a- I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we stop ourselves from that we just say we can't do or can't have because there's some experience in our past that tells us we can't have that. Something happened where, um, you know, we had a negative experience.
Yeah.
And in a way, we are almost as if we are single-celled organisms that are going toward um like positive and going away from negative. It's like positive stimuli, we go forward. Like anything negative, it's like we go away, we turn away. We don't like to look at it. We don't like to experience it. So we don't like to go back into those things and really figure it out. But it's really important to be able to build up your spiritual self if you're going to go through some type of an awakening. I mean, if you're listening to our channel, if you're still here by this point of the video and you've been having spiritual awakening type experiences where you just seem to be getting downloads from the universe, you just know things that you didn't seem to know before. You're just so much more aware of your own feelings, your own thoughts, of everyone around you. There could be crazy chaos going on in your life as the universe adjusts things around you to bring you up, to
Yeah.
bring you to a higher, better timeline. All this stuff could be going on around you. Because of all that, it's important to really take care of oneself and pay attention to the things that you're telling yourself no to. You can't do it. For example, I started going through this spiritual awakening and I found a spiritual master, a spiritual teacher to follow, Master Sri Akashana, and he starts doing this yoga for manifestation he's talking about. And he's talking about yoga. And he's talking about we're going to do these asanas. And I watch his videos and I'm saying to myself, yeah, there's no way I'm doing that. Right. Like, I can't do that. I'm too old. I don't know. I'm like in my 50, I'm over 50. Like, over 50-year-old women probably don't just take up yoga and start standing on their head and doing all these things that I see like 20-year-old people doing. So I said to myself, there's just no way I can do all that. Um, as it turns out, actually, yeah, I can. And every single moment that I told myself I couldn't do it actually was just me lessening my abilities, just me pulling down my own power. As it turns out, if there's a human that can do something, maybe I can do it too.
Mhm.
And actually, it just took patience and it just took repetition and it just took belief in myself that I could do those things. So now I am standing on my head. Now I am able to do some of the asanas that I just at first was like, there's no possible way. There's just no way. I'm not flexible enough, on and on, all my reasons why that I'm not able to do it. So I think that that's just an example of like the many, many things
Yeah.
that we tell ourselves that nope, we can't have that, we can't do that.
Yeah, and just a little side note, it's like that's what's so beautiful about yoga, because the flexibility in the body is actually more about the mind.
It's just right. He always talks about we're building our brain. We're
Yeah.
actually building our container, our brain, but really our container because we want to have our body strong. And if our physical body is strong and our health is intact, our mind is stronger.
Yeah.
And we all know that you can have everything on earth. If you don't have your health, you won't enjoy it. You
Your
won't
health
be
is
able to enjoy it in the same way. So that's just an example of something that I once told myself I couldn't do. And it turns out, yes, I can do it. I just have to try. It's not a problem not being able to do the things. He always says this. The problem is not trying.
Yep.
So
Down to is
that's
what?
a limiting belief.
Yeah. Came down to practice.
It came down to practice. And I think there's a lot of things that we could say about that. I'm not good at meditating. You brought that one up. I don't even know how to meditate. I can't quiet my mind. I close my eyes. I don't get it. I hear 5 seconds later, I'm thinking about my lunch and I'm thinking about my bills and I'm not able to keep it quiet. And again, yeah, you can. It just takes practice.
Yeah.
It just takes time. It just takes effort. It just takes maybe the first time you're only quieting your mind for 15 seconds, but maybe next time it's 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds. And then you'll work up to it. So to me, I know we start talking about gratitude. To me, to be in a state of gratitude about about my ability to even try stuff,
Yeah.
it's like it's super helpful. I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity, that I'm even healthy enough, strong enough to even try to do yoga, for example. So even the stuff that I can't do, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to even have a chance to be able to do it, for example. I'm grateful to notice what I'm not quite good enough at yet, for example. Just knowing I can be if I want, but it's all the story I tell myself. It literally is the story I tell myself. Who I am is the story I say.
Yes, absolutely. And it's like in all those different types of moments that you have throughout your life, gratitude can be such a grounding tool to bring you back to reality. Because at the end of the day, we are just abundant beings who deserve everything that we desire. We deserve health, we deserve safety, we deserve love. And so just affirming that to yourself and really just thinking about the moments where you do have that and being very super grateful for it can ground you back down into reality. Kind of, it's like don't sweat the small things, right? The small things can kind of fall to the wayside when you think about what it is that you're grateful for. And that's how you can increase your happiness. And we know that when our happiness increases, our health increases. And it's just a beautiful cycle.
Oh yeah, definitely. A grateful heart definitely makes you feel better. It brings your energy up. If we can understand that what you focus on expands,
Mm.
that's the key to it. People who spend time worrying about the bad things and worrying about things that they, like you were saying about in my past, or did I say that, or did I, this conversation that I had, I'm going over in my head, what if I should have said something different? All that's all so much energy we put into that, so much energy that we could instead, when you start to hear yourself doing that,
Yeah.
stop yourself and change direction in the conversation in your head and start going toward a more grateful tone. Start saying that you're grateful to have the opportunity to be able to, just live a life. Live a
Yeah.
life where you can redo those experiences that you didn't like. It's never too late. And
Never.
that's the other part. It's never too late. It's never too late to do a thing. It's never too late to call the person. It's never too late to tell the person what you wanted to say. And you just do that in a mode of gratitude and just be grateful to be alive. And I think it just, for me, it just makes life easier. It just makes it easier to exist. When I start to feel down, if I can just bring it up with some gratitude and just be grateful for even the small things, it helps so much. It helps kind of everything, honestly.
Yeah, and just as we're in this like holiday season, I just want to invite everybody to bring gratitude in to the moments that can feel hard. I mean, right now people are like buying people gifts and
Yeah.
planning holidays together and all these things can like be stressful. But I yeah, encourage everybody to just take a step back and how how grateful are you that you're able to receive a gift? give a gift, hold the space for your family to come together. I mean, that's what it's really truly all about. And all the stress and the chaos that is going on around is just a perception that you're allowing into your life when really it's like, just be grateful for being together. And you can bring gratitude into all these moments just simply with a breath and just allowing um yeah, the gratitude to really like fill your heart space.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get kind of depressed at this time of the year because they can't stop noticing what they don't have.
Yeah.
They can't stop seeing what's gone. And the practice of regular gratitude will definitely help with that, but even I sort of feel like if it, you might not be the one that's struggling, you just might be the one to pick someone up with it too. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'll have a bad day sometimes, and sometimes you just can't get the energy. Well, what if that's someone you love is feeling that way? How can you help with your own gratitude to lift their life, to lift their vibration? What do you think about that? Just using gratitude to help someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of what I was saying in the beginning when I talked about being somewhere where I feel the energy is dense and I start listing off things that I'm grateful for. That's one way you can help the energy of anybody that you're with because we're co-creating together. So if you're sharing space, you're sharing energy. And so that's one
Yeah.
way you can lift their vibration for somebody else and just inviting somebody to take that moment for gratitude. Because sometimes I'm not thinking about that. And
Yeah.
so often, if somebody else says it to me, maybe then I'll do it, you know? And it's like in those moments when your mind is a little bit stuck and you're like somewhere else, maybe don't feel like you have the energy to do it, someone else says it, that can hit differently.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I
I
I like Go
go ahead.
ahead.
Well, I was
No,
just
I just I like the idea of just doing it regularly enough that it becomes a habit.
yeah,
But also, almost like I was saying at the beginning, not so much of a habit that you just throw it out and don't mean it. Oh, I'm
yes,
grateful for that. I'm grateful, grateful, grateful. But you're actually not really getting into the gratitude vibration.
yeah,
So it's like get into the practice of actually feeling it, of actually what does gratitude feel like in your body? It's a warmth for
yeah,
me. It's a warmth. It's like that heart warmth. It's that good, just peaceful feeling of rightness. I don't know what else to call it.
yeah, and it's being willing to seem a little weird in pursuit of deeper connection. You know,
Yeah,
so often people bond over gossip or negative talk, and
yeah,
it's my goal to just connect with people over gratitude, over positivity, over things that are going to uplift you. And so, especially when you're with other people and practicing this, like at a level that's beyond just yourself, right? Because there are layers to this, and it's continuous. Especially when you talk
yeah,
about rewiring situations in your life and going back and reframing them, it'll be it's not a it's an ebb and flow, right? So you might continue to do this, but at some point you're going to hit a level where you don't necessarily need to do that anymore, right? You reframed your life, and now you have this gratitude that's so innately inside of you. And so now it's how can I share that gift with other people? Because, like I said, we're all co creating together. And so if you can share the gratitude with other people, well, then isn't that what we believe our mission is here to do? So, yeah.
Oh, definitely. That's honestly one of the reasons we do this is so that we can put out a vibration of gratitude to the universe.
Yes.
So that anyone who's resonating with us can also feel it, so that we can lift everybody's consciousness, the collective, because we're all connected. So that's the other part is the more of us feel gratitude, the more of us can get into that, the easier it is for any and all of us to do it.
Mhm.
So to me, by staying grateful and getting into that gratitude practice, it honestly helps out all of us
Yeah.
to be on our best kind of best places that we can be at.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you're still listening to this episode, I just encourage you see for the next week. just take a couple minutes a day and just write a list of 3 things you're grateful for. That's it. 3 things you're grateful for, and why are you grateful for them? Because that's right. We don't want to just be throwing gratitude out there and not really thinking about it. You can, absolutely, but it's that deeper level of connection to the thing you're grateful for and why that is really going to make the difference in your life. And just notice how that feels.
And challenge yourself to go back and find something that's limiting you.
Yeah.
Go back into your life and find something that's stopping you. Dig up that hurtful comment and change it up and see if you can't reframe that. Start with something small. And if that works and you're able to change that energy up, go back and do it again. Do it again and do it again. And just get into that mode of changing your perception and pulling in the gratitude. And it will just become a vibration that you're so used to that you'll just flow into it more and more easy. It's almost like we got to work harder to get to the positive attitude. It's almost as if the negative energies that exist in this world, second we start to feel them, it's like they hop right on, right? It's like they're come anybody and anywhere. Usually we can get somebody to jump on a negative bandwagon with us. We can start talking bad about somebody. It's super easy to find someone to lower the vibration. It's not quite as easy to find someone that's going to lift it up all the time. And I think part of the reason that the universe is calling some of us to awaken, for those of us who are listening, it's so that we can do this for all of us, for both ourselves and all of us. So, you light worker, you start to do it for yourself. You start to bring your vibration up. You start to reframe your life. You start to live a life of gratitude and a vibration of gratitude, and you will be able to shine your light better and farther, just like you want to. You will increase your healing powers. You will increase your intuition. You will increase your manifestation powers because your vibration is higher. And the vibration that you have now actually is what determines your future.
Yeah.
So if I can keep that up and I can keep that good vibration going and I can be grateful in every single moment that I can make it, right? Even if I fail, I can at least try to be grateful again. It does make all of those things that much easier. It makes the spiritual awakening journey um, not easier to take because it's definitely a lot you go through, but it's just like it's a I think it just expands faster when you're willing to make an effort to do this rather than just being like, yeah, I'm going to be more grateful. No, actually, like make an actual concerted effort to do it, and it will bless you and all of those around you. I can promise you they'll feel it. People around you will feel it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Carve out that time for yourself. And it only takes a
That's it.
few minutes. It only takes a few minutes to change your whole life, to change your whole entire life, your whole entire vibration.
Definitely. Well, I'm grateful for you, Shay. I'm grateful for my life, my body, my opportunity to connect with anybody who is connecting with me right now. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to use this platform and reach out to others and share the love and the gratitude that I have for the universe.
Yeah, likewise. I just want to invite everybody, if you have the ability, just to place your hands on your heart and close your eyes, settle in wherever you are for just a moment. And like we started, I want you to think of one thing that you're grateful for and why. And I want you to recognize, to observe the feelings in your body as you carve out this moment for gratitude now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shay. Thank you, listener. Thank you, watcher. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we are grateful for every single moment that you spend with us. We release episodes weekly. And thanks for stopping by. Thanks for sharing this time with us.
Yes, we will see you next time.
Thanks for coming.